All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. It is 9:01. Today is Monday, December 1st. We are at the Town Hall in the chambers, obviously. All the council members are present. Town Attorney, Town Clerk, Deputy Town Manager is back. Welcome back. If you please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we
Next is the approval of the final agenda. Is there any changes or a motion to approve the final agenda?
Move to approve.
A motion by Counselor King. I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Madam Clerk?
I have one signed up, Barbara Puffer.
Yep, just push the button.
Gotcha. It's on green. All right, good morning. Thank you for letting us have this public comment point in the meeting. My name is Barbara Puffer. I live at Estero Cove, down the street, South End. I've owned since 1991. I'm here today representing my own condo, which is 180 people, 180 units, not 180 people, quite more than that, and loosely representing another group we call the Block Party, which runs from Island Pines Road through to Linnell. That's probably about 600 condos. We are all very much 100% in support of the plan that's running through town now for the old Wyndham property, the Pullman property across the street from where I live. We've seen the drawings, we've talked to the owner, we've had meetings with the owner just recently, so we know what his intentions are, and we know that he has a representative in town dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's. So my main message is we are 100% in support. In seeing the drawings, we noticed in particular that the infrastructure behind this one-story tiki bar restaurant and the rest of the property will be parking, we noticed that it's all on wheels. So we're hoping that that satisfies all the FEMA requirements and complaints we've had for so long since Ian. We hope they'll start on the right foot, that will also help push this through the town departments. The owner we have benefited as residents and the town from their largesse for 3 years. They have not charged us for all the activity. If you live down that end, you know there's a lot of activity on that property. There still is. The property that's filled the south end of that property right now, full of huge trucks, Euclids, very, very large equipment. He did not get permission for that. He has spoken to the subcontractor, which he tells us is with the town. I'm just saying what he said to us. And asked him to clean out, but it's not cleaned out yet. Of most concern to us are the 5 fuel tanks there and the 2 fuel cells there that are, they use it as a gas station every day. There are even signs on one of the tanks that says you will not use this fuel on a public road, but there are trucks going in and out and in and out. So it's also next to the lagoon and posted critical wildlife area. I would think you'd be much more concerned than what Barbara Puffer looks at out her window. You should be concerned about that too. But mainly, my time's running out. We're 100% behind that project. Whatever you can do to move it along, you know the South End needs something. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
That's all I have signed up for public comment.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yeah, come on up. Yep, that one should just be able to talk right into it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Terry Kane, resident. I just went through the comprehensive plan corrections. Thank you very much for doing that. I have 2 suggestions today. One is that we don't go through this again the way we did now. So I'm hoping for a little bug in the ear idea that some kind of committee is created annually, something that only has to meet once or twice a year to review where we are in our comprehensive plan, what we need to do in our comprehensive plan, what we need to do in the future with our comprehensive plan. And I would love to see a committee of some kind that has somebody from every walk of life, a waitress, a realtor, whatever, an environmentalist. And then at the end of 10 years, you would have a big review, just a ongoing annual review to see how we're doing. Unfortunately, I don't think we did that in the past, and we've gone many, many years without it. Okay, so off of the comprehensive plan. Phew, I bet you're all doing that, aren't you? And on to the other thing I want to make public comment on, and a suggestion, is on D, Resolution 25331, RFP 2601PW. It's on your page 4, Fort Myers Beach Landscaping and Irrigation. You're about ready to, you already put out to bid, you have a contractor. I read your RFP last night, and I'm concerned about the plant list that this town has. I don't know where it came from. I don't remember it being created. I've been around a while, so I know some of those things. And I would just like to see it revised. The plant list for the town of Fort Myers Beach has already been created in 2 separate areas that your staff can use for resources. What you want to grow on the east side of Estero Boulevard is different than what grows on the west side of Estero Boulevard. You have the management plan for Bowditch Point that has the plant list in it, and that would be the east side. You have the management plan for the Matanzas Pass Preserve. That would be what grows on the west side. Included in it as well are the exotics. What is a little distressing to me in the town's RFP is that they have exotics listed being allowed to be planted, especially the mayho, and they don't even say what species of mayho because we have 2 different kinds. But I would just like that to be revised, and as you're going in for preparing for the agreement for the new RFP, I think the person that you've given this to, I think somewhere in their new agreement should state native plants only. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions. Councilor King?
I have nothing.
Councilor Hope?
In the interest of time, I'll pass as well.
All right. Councilor Link?
I do. So I'd like to recognize the men and women of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 91 here on Fort Myers Beach for their ongoing service and highlight their current call for volunteers to help both on and off the water. Thank you for keeping our water and our boaters safe. This latest accident, I think, made us all aware of how quickly life can change. You can contact Daniel Eaton, the Flotilla Public Affairs Officer, at 239-690-6780. No experience is needed, and they'll provide all the training. So they're looking for volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Safford?
Yes, I'd like to give a big shout out to the Chamber of Commerce for the fantastic event, sand sculpting. And I also like to thank the private and public partners that donate parking lots for all our nonprofits, including EIBC, the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Beach Baptist, Myerside, Hoosiers in Paradise, which is Eddie, Century 21 Tri-Power, Judy Hadia, Neptune Inn, Sandcap Bank, San Rafael's, and The Goods. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Jeff and his team. Thank you so much. Your support was great down there with helping with everything. Really appreciate it.
Very good. I won't restate it, but very well said. That was what was on mine. We'll move forward. Next, we have Advisory Committee items, reports, and appointments. Anchorage Advisory Committee.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, councilors. Good morning, town staff. I'm Chris King, the chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee, and just want to give you an update on a few things that we're working on. First of all, thank you for your permission last time I was here to move forward with our Cruisers Appreciation Day set for April 12th in 2026. We'll move into full preparation mode at our meeting in January for that. You should have a copy of the roles and responsibilities document that we prepared in your packet. Don't pay any attention to the highlights. That was where Curtis added some information for us. But we prepared that based on a lot of other documents that had been out and about for years. We took a look at what was really relevant for today and came up with that document. Town manager has already made some edits. Curtis made some edits. So I think the next step for that is really for the town attorney to take a look at that and include it in any applicable documentation that you have. Our intention was really just to sort of level set on our roles and responsibilities. The Anchorage Advisory Committee has been around for a while, and a lot of the things that were in some of those documents was not necessarily up to date. And we're hoping that this sort of document can be a model for other advisory committees, so that we can have some sort of consistency around how the advisory committees are organized and governed. So I don't know if you have any comments or questions about what we put in there. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it, but as far as we're concerned, this is what we're putting forth, and we would just like permission for that to be, given to the town attorney and added to any sort of documents that it needs to be.
Go ahead.
Questions?
I would just say thank you, Madam Chair, for your efforts, as well as the full committee as well. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't garner headlines, but it's the basic blocking, tackling of government. And to take the time and effort that you all have done to clarify the roles and codify them with language and updating it, it's, again, it's not sexy stuff, but it's important, and I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
There's no. Anyone have any objections to Chris's request to send it forward? No?
Can I just make a comment?
You
Sure
sure
can.
can.
Thank you, Chris, for doing this.
You're
This is a
welcome.
lot of work, and I do appreciate it. What I wanted to point out to the council is page 6, documents pertaining to the Anchorage Advisory Committee. So there you'll see that there is the submerged land lease agreement, which is still valid, goes through 2032. That agreement is probably with the state, I would assume, and so amending that to include any of these things would probably be time-consuming and probably doesn't get us where we want to go. However, moving down to the next two items that you have, number 2 is your code of ordinances, cross-reference to all the different changes, and then your management plan. So the items that are in there, I breezed over them as well. I didn't see anything that I felt was out of line or inappropriate. But the question then is really, would you prefer to have it in your ordinances, or would you prefer to have it as part of your management plan? The difference being that if it is codified in your ordinances, which you can do, it would take basically 2 readings to change it. If you put it in your management plan, that could be done by resolution, which would only require 1 reading. So if that isn't a concern to you, I would like some direction, or maybe I could just sit down with Chris and we can go over it. But you lose a little bit of flexibility if you go with an ordinance, but not too much, because you still control your ordinances. You lose a lot of flexibility if you try to put something into the submerged land lease, which looks like it goes through 2032. So that's a sleeping dog we don't want to disturb. But anyway, if anybody has any thoughts to begin the conversation, I'm happy to work with Chris and bring you something forward.
I would echo that, and I think that's very appropriate. I think that 2 of you talking and working together and making recommendation, of course, whatever you recommend, Nancy, might be precedential for our other advisory committees, so you might think about what's best public policy and how best to do that. But I think I would yield to your wisdom on that, because I think, again, in this instance, I think the more flexibility we have, the better, but at the same time, we need to be sensitive to how this will impact all the other advisory committees as well.
And if I might add, what we really wanted to do is come up with some sort of consistency, because when you onboard people to your committee, it's hard to keep that momentum going because they don't really understand what the benchmark responsibilities are. There's no background document. So wherever it makes the most sense to add this, Nancy, for going forward, for making sure that when we bring new people onto committees, we can point to that and say, and this is what you're expected to do. Here's your responsibilities.
So currently in your code of ordinances, it's in section 2-94, there is a short paragraph on each of the committees and what they are supposed to do. Perhaps even another option might be to have some kind of policy manual that could be referenced in your code for each of your committees, but then having the manual be very flexible as needed. It's just another thought.
Yeah, I don't have any, I'm with Jim. I don't have any issues with you two working it out, and whatever is the best path forward for not only AAC, but all the committees I'm in favor of.
Okay.
All right?
Great. Okay, a few other things. We were asked to think about our 2026 objectives, so I think that was also included in your packet, but I'll read those for you. We want to support efforts to have a fully functional mooring field with all of our balls operational, optimal occupancy, and financially sustainable. Longer term, support efforts for the town to have more permanent upgraded upland facilities and facilities for staff operations. Second, drive and support educational, promotional, and marketing efforts to increase understanding and awareness of the mooring field as well as usage of it. And third, partner on discussions and activities associated with related future efforts, including ferry service and canal maintenance and dredging plans. So I'm hoping that those are in alignment with what the council would like us to be working on. If there's any thoughts and suggestions about changes to those, totally willing, open.
John, anything?
I think you do good work, dear.
Thank you.
Well said. Jim?
I think it's a great outlook, and I appreciate you including the language about the ferry in there as well.
Rebecca?
Chris, thanks for your work. I love the structure.
Thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, thanks for all your hard work. And that event you had last year was fantastic. I look forward, I think it'll be even better this year, so.
Yep, it
thank
will
you.
be, because we'll have moved it up for a couple of weeks, and we should have more boaters attending, so that'll be
That's
great.
great.
Very good. Thanks, Chris. Nice,
Okay.
great work.
Okay, a couple more things, and then I'll leave you alone. We're excited about the town's new all-purpose boat, so we're looking forward to that coming online and replacing the existing pontoon boat, which will be kind of end of life, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to it, but it's time for that to go. So if there can be some activities announcing the new boat, perhaps a contest to name it, a christening, anything to celebrate and bring awareness to, our maritime operations and what everybody does to keep our waterways safe.
I'm all about a christening.
Are you? Thank you. Okay. All right.
Oh.
Must be a Monday.
Yeah, he's here all week, folks. Okay. And my final thing that I want to mention is just a kudos to a citizen on the island who I think did a really great thing and came up with a way to have a conversation about a problem that she is incurring. So that my kudos go to Mary Torgerson. And as you know, nothing on this island is easy. We have a lot of jurisdictions. We have the town, we have the county, we have the state, we have federal, and who else knows who needs to weigh in on things. So when she recognized that there was an issue with people exceeding the speed limit in the bay, she brought it upon herself to bring a bunch of stakeholders together to talk about the problem in a very productive way, in a very thoughtful way. These stakeholders represented LCSO and FWC and the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the Chamber, pod protectors. And the issue really is by people speeding in the bay, they're causing damage to bay owners' docks because the water is sloshing up, and especially at high tide, that's a problem. It's also not safe for people to be speeding around in very small channels, and it's not safe for our wildlife. So instead of sending nasty emails and expecting the town to fix it, she brought these people together to have a very productive conversation. It was great dialogue. I was there, Curtis and Chad were there. And we were able to listen to people, talk about what potential solutions could be to this issue. So I really applaud her for doing this on her own time, her own dime. She brought it together. What's going to come out of this there's a number of solutions that are long-term and short-term, but primarily it's about education and making sure that all of the boat rental companies, the Airbnbs, the condo owners understand what it really means to have no wake or slow, and it differs by boat. I mean, that was one educational piece, that it depends on what kind of boat you have to actually figure out what that means. So the next step is going to be a meeting in January, bringing together all of those organizations to really talk about education and have them understand their accountabilities. And then we can move forward from that and see if we could do some technological things like geofencing, geo-targeting. So if people get into a certain area, they could receive a ding on their phone or a ding on an app that's saying, hey, you're going too fast, you need to slow down. So there's a lot of things that could come out of this, but again, I just wanted to give kudos to Mary for taking a very productive approach.
Very good.
One last thing, Chris, if I could, because you've given a nice flavor of the Anchorage Advisory Committee this morning. I just would be remiss if I didn't mention there is a current vacancy on the committee. So if anybody's watching or knows somebody who might be interested in these types of issues, please reach out to Amy, our clerk, and she'll get you an application and we'll get you on board.
Thank you
Sounds
so
like it
much.
might be a good fit for Miss Mary herself.
Yeah, I've already reached out, but she's, got a lot of women's club
Sure,
stuff going,
sure.
so.
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the November 17th Town Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the consent agenda. There are 3 items on the consent agenda, all relating to local state of emergencies. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 25-337, Resolution 25-347, and Resolution 25-342?
I'll move that, Mayor.
I get a motion by Counselor King.
I'll s-
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is the items removed, which nothing was removed, which brings us to our first public hearing. This is a legislative agenda item and is the second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 25-27. This is an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida. 1, establishing procedures for the review and approval of applications for reasonable accommodations needed to operate certified recovery residences from existing land use regulations in new section 34-204 in Division 4, applications and procedures of Articles 2, zoning districts and standards and nonconformities of Chapter 34, as mandated by Section 397.487-15A Florida statutes, and 2, amending Section 34-232, required hearings of Division 5, public hearings and review of Article 2, zoning procedures of Chapter 34, zoning districts, design standards, and nonconformities to require only 1 public hearing before the local planning agency, LPA, for approval of the applications for reasonable accommodations to operate as certified recovery residence as provided in Section 34-204. If the decision by eligible members of the LPA is unanimous and the town clerk does not receive a request from an additional public hearing or for additional public hearing before the town council from anyone, including town staff, within 10 days after the LPA decision, providing for codification, severability, Scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and an effective date.
I can comment real
Okay,
quick.
yes.
This is your second reading of the proposed ordinance that is mandated at this point by the state statute. There was a change. Pretty much the regulation of these certified recovery residences has already been preempted to the state. However, there are situations where there may be a need for a reasonable accommodation. And so the current mandate that we're fulfilling with this second reading is to have procedures in place to allow for an expedited review of that. The other part of this ordinance that I want to bring to your attention is the fact that these reasonable accommodations are almost a de facto variance type change that is needed in order to have this facility operational. And so for that reason, the recommendation was to go ahead and allow the LPA to review these in the same way that they are reviewing variances and certain special exceptions. If there is no objection to the reasonable accommodation, then that pretty much expedites it But if there is a concern raised, it would come to you just as any other concerns regarding variances or special exceptions that may come about. The deadline for this mandate to adopt an ordinance with procedures is January the 1st. So we are well within that time frame. I'll defer to Jason Green if you want to add anything.
Jason Green, Community Development. I have nothing further to add.
All right, any questions?
Thank you,
John, do you have
Nancy.
any questions for Jason or
None.
for Nancy?
None.
Jim? No? Rebecca? Scott?
No.
I do not have any questions. Pretty straightforward. Good job.
Yes.
I think this is a good direction, another step forward.
Yes, sir.
Continue to try to find ways to streamline things like this for the residents to be able to get in faster.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Public comment? Would anybody like to speak in public comment on this? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment, bring it back to the council. Is there any further discussion or a motion? on-
Mayor?
Yes, sir?
I'll move approval of ordinance 25-27.
All right, got a motion by Councilmember Adderholt,
I'll second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? Councilor Adderholt?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Councilor Link?
Aye.
Councilor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is our legislative agenda item is the second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 24-10, continued from November 17th, 2025. This is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending the town of Fort Myers Beach comprehensive plan in its entirety pursuant to 163-3184-3 Florida statutes, providing for adoption of the town of Fort Myers Beach Comprehensive Plan 2045, including amendments to the future land use element and the future land use map, the community design element, the transportation element, the housing element, the historic preservation element, the utilities element, the conservation element, the coastal management element, the recreation and open space element, the intergovernmental coordination element, the capital improvement element, and the property rights element, inclusive of all associated tables, exhibits, and maps, authorizing findings and administrative actions, providing for transmittal, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
I hope you had some breakfast.
I had not, Mayor, but I have a thorn in my bag in case
We will
my
plan
blood sugar runs low. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Did staff provide you with the, I apologize, 38-page item? That was the culmination of our Tuesday? Yeah.
Yes, they all have it.
All right,
They all
thank
have
you.
it.
Let me
Madam
jump
Attorney?
in. In addition, you should have an ordinance with some strike and inserts. Just basically, the changes in that ordinance simply reflect the fact that there was a joint meeting with the LPA for the discussion of the proposed changes at second reading. And I would ask that at the conclusion that the town council consider a vote on the amendments and then a second vote on the ordinance as amended. So we have a very clear record as to what was changed and what was not. So I'll defer to Eddie at this point.
Nancy, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I want to read these three changes because the public didn't get a chance, I'm assuming, to see these. 'Cause we
Yes,
just
go
got them
ahead.
today. So the three changes to the ordinance that was published, there's three whereas clauses. The first one says, whereas during discussion at the November 17th, 2025 public hearing, several concerns were raised and the town council believed it was in the best interest of the public to have a joint public meeting with the town's local planning agency and therefore voted to continue the adoption public hearing to a date certain of December 1st, 2025. And whereas the joint public hearing between the LPA agency, or the local planning agency and the town council was duly noticed and occurred on November 25th, 2025, which resulted in several changes to previously proposed language in Exhibit A. And whereas the November 25th, 2025 language changes were compiled as a list which were approved for inclusion in Exhibit A prior to the final vote for approval of Ordinance 24-10 at the Town Council's December 1st, 2025 adoption hearing. Eddie?
All right, thank you, Mayor, council members. Thank you to both you and the LPA for the extended discussion on Tuesday. As you can see, we had a very busy Wednesday putting this document back together for you. And given the time frame, if it's all right with the mayor and council, would you like us to go through this, item by item, just so that we can make sure that everything is exactly how you have wanted it post-discussion?
Yeah, I think it would be important to just highlight the changes that were discussed on Tuesday. I don't know that we need to go through
Right.
everything like we did on Tuesday, but at the changes, that way if somebody has something that maybe you missed, we can add it to make sure it gets added.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, council members, with the document seen before you, as requested, I did go in and highlight all the changes to just make it pop out to your eye for easier reading. From a document-wise standpoint, there are three major notes that I would start with. As needed, we'll correct all policy numbering once all edits are applied. There was one pending item. If you recall that I said I would bring back to you, we'll get to that in a minute. Second and third are where noted within this document or not noted, because otherwise I would have had to just give you a new 100-page document at that point. Where the town is a proper noun, it shouldn't be changed from lower T to a capital T, and the same with county and so forth. So that grammatical aspect, you'll see other grammatical items along the way. I also do want to note that part of the changes you'll see as we go along involved just adding titles to each one of the policies. So we'll run through those as well. Those are. Let me check my email to staff on Wednesday. Right. You'll find as we go along as well that there are should versus shall. Now, there are some exceptions to this. For example, there was one case where it was shall study to determine if you should. So you don't want to make that two shalls, because then you're just, what's the point of doing a study, right? In those cases, I did leave them out, but I did change, the should to shall as you'll see throughout the document. With that, if it's all right with the council, I'd like to start with the future land use element. See that?
Eddie, if you could focus just on the changes that are substantive in terms of policy. I mean, obviously, some of this is,
Yeah, grammatical stuff.
yeah, and also just titling. I mean, but just focus on areas that are substantive in nature.
Okay. Substantive, I'm gonna run you guys through down to the third page. If I could direct you to the fourth item on the third page that says policy FLU-1A-14, public benefits ordinances. You'll see the change there. It's highlighted. In addition to may adopt, as we had discussed, you'll see that there was another sentence added that we did not discuss. This is actually copied over from later on in the when we talked about public benefits, so that you had consistency between the policies. And the drafted language was, is the same as it was provided by the LPA. Where accepted, public benefits shall be included in their respective development orders and development agreements as applicable. One, exclusively for public use, public benefits, give me a second, that should say, are intended, while not exclusive to public use, are intended primarily to benefit the public for the lifetime of their respective agreement. Compliant to town code requirements shall not be a public benefit.
Eddie, I'm gonna reread that because
Yeah, there's a word missing.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, when we go through I'm gonna go ahead and read them for it, because it's hard to understand sometimes in the people watching at home.
Yeah.
So if you don't, I'll just go ahead and read them that way.
Yes, please. Thank you,
All right,
Mayor.
so the change in here, the sentence that Eddie was referring to says, where accepted, public benefits shall be included in their respective development orders and development agreements as applicable, while not exclusively for the public use and are intended primarily to benefit the public for the lifetime of their respective agreements. complying with the town's codes requirements shall not be a public benefit.
So we need to add the words
Public
public
ben-
benefits
Yes.
are intended primarily to benefit the public for the lifetime. So it's just two
Yeah.
words were omitted.
Yeah, I was trying to slice the sentences really quickly on Wednesday to get this out to you on time. It was pretty tall order to do this in one day.
Anyone have any objections to that sentencing, Jim?
I just have some, I don't have any particularly, I have no objections to that language change, but I want to just, if we could, this was one of the more interesting conversations points in the joint town council LPA meeting. And I thought both Jim Dunlop and Jim Bone of the LPA made some interesting points. But I just want to understand from Nancy, from a legal perspective, as well as from Jason and Eddie here, from a policy standpoint, what this means when push comes to shove. First of all, it references development agreements, but it doesn't mention CPDs. Is this also applicable to a CPD? Nancy?
I think it can be,
I'm not
because-
asking that it is, but I'm just wondering,
Well,
how do
I
you read
think
it?
that public benefits included in their respective development orders, I think when you think about a CPD, there's going to be, it is kind of the development order going forward. We could add the language if it makes it a little bit clearer. That way this question doesn't come up again.
No, I just was curious if this is, the focus of this was on the more vague dynamics of the development agreement, which is fine. The CPD is a little bit more structured, and I don't know that it needs this language as much, but I would yield to my colleagues on that. I also wonder, in the sentence prior to that, the town will evaluate and may adopt as appropriate into its land development code. So this, any sort of specificity with respect to this will obviously then be implemented in the LDC. Is that how you read that?
That is correct, but I would recommend we go ahead and add, after respective development orders, planned developments, comma, and development agreements.
Okay, if we're going to do that,
Yeah.
Takes it totally off the
let's also help me or explain, if as best you can, what this actually means, because it seems like and I'm not actually opposed to having some gray area in here because it gives flexibility, but it says, while not exclusively for public use, are intended primarily to benefit the public for the lifetime of their respective agreements. Are we basically saying if a project offers an amenity that could be used both by the development and the public, is it really just a clause that says that this amenity will remain open to the public for the lifetime of the development? Is that in essence what we're saying? And if we are, that's okay. I'm just trying to understand it, Nancy.
I want to, if I can just jump in, my understanding of this whole section was to just basically provide a path to this council or future councils to potentially put an ordinance in place to describe, to your point, more exclusively what a public benefit may or may not be.
Yeah.
It isn't referring, at least the way I read it or understand it, it's not specifically getting into that granular detail that you're referring to, I think, Jim. It's just saying this is a path forward through the comp plan to allow you to be able to enact an ordinance down the road should you or future councils choose to do so. Is that a fair statement of what this essentially reads, or how I'm reading it?
Yes, sir. It is intended to provide a pathway, as you stated, Mayor.
To apply the flexibility to
Right.
be
Right,
able
so
to address,
flexibility is
I think, some
there.
of your.
And Jim, we put in lifetime because we didn't want to put in perpetuity because,
No, I listened, and I heard, and it's fine. I just, Jason, how do you read that as with your unique background
Yeah,
in Fort Myers Beach?
It sets you up for that next implementation step to do.
So there's nothing terribly binding in this language except for the fact that it facilitates that next step of granularity. Is that fair?
Right. I think the binding part of it is you're telling yourselves you're going to do this.
You need to do it.
essentially,
All
right?
right.
And then 7 years from now, when we do an analysis, do the review that the lady was talking about, did we do that or not? Have we implemented that? Have we checked that box and finished that?
All right, that's great. I'm fine by that. Thank you.
Mayor, indulge me for a second. Madam Attorney, could you repeat the word that you had suggested to add?
Sure. So Where accepted, public benefits shall be included in their respective development orders, comma, planned developments, comma, and development agreements.
Plan developments
Is that clear for you guys? Yeah.
and development agreements, yes. I agree with that. As long as the plan development portion of it, it ties specifically to development orders and development agreement portion of it. If it's tied to the zoning instead, then what you would have would be contract zoning, and that, as I understand, Madam Attorney, is not legal in Florida, correct?
Well, that is correct. However, sometimes in planned developments, they will offer
Right,
public benefits. So
Right.
I don't want to preclude that
yes,
as being inconsistent.
right.
But I
Definitely,
also don't
yeah.
want to create any ambiguity
Right.
that could later result. So if
Yeah.
you feel it's better to take it out, I'm okay with that too. It could be addressed in the ordinance when we become more specific as to how it's going to be implemented.
Right. I don't have any disagreement with it. I'm mentioning caution because I had two others in the same situation on the other side of Florida. One $1 billion project that's been mired on its fourth lawsuit, and another one that is but where we do have public benefits in there, and that they're providing for a new school on the site and public plazas that are to be maintained by the developer but open for general public use. So there's a balancing point here that I was just trying to refer to about but kind of caution us to avoid digging too deeply in something that could be interpreted as contract zoning.
Nancy, I would be comfortable with leaving that out, just based on that, if we can
That's-
cover it within the ordinance.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. We can address it in the ordinance as far as the voluntary nature of it, emphasizing that.
Yep. Thank you. Heard and understood.
So we'll leave it as is.
With the exception of the couple words that I think Nancy pointed out at the beginning. You got those, Eddie?
Yes, sir. Adding the word public benefits before our intended primarily. I apologize for that.
Okay.
And then I think that was all, right?
Yeah.
Yes, correct. If Mayor, you and the council are ready to move on to the
Yes,
next
sir.
item? All right. You'll see the next one, two down, you'll see that the mobile homes is no longer strike through. The general aspect, that's just to keep us in compliance with SB 180. You'll go and see that we changed the cultural and civic center names. I did that throughout the entire document, so you'll have seen that in multiple elements that you scroll down. And of course, the same thing with Santini Marina, at Santini Marina Plaza. Where there's more substantive, I would like to bring you to page 6 and the very bottom of the page where it says wetlands. And this was where in the meeting you had asked me to come back with the language from before and also what we would like to, what would best practice here be.
I'm going to go ahead and read this one, Eddie, because there's
Yes,
quite a lot
please.
of yellow there.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
It's what is crossed out as wetlands, and it's called conservation under the policy FLU 1B2H. A conservation district is established to provide for areas set aside for preserving natural resources, biodiversity, and cultural heritage, and shall also be applied to all remaining wetlands. The maximum density of residential development here is 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres. Other allowable uses, if compatible with the natural habitat of the property and/or wetland functions, include passive recreation, walking, access to tidal waters, boardwalks and docks, and restoration of degraded habitats or as provided for the tidal waters subcategory. Provided activities include placement of fill material, dredging of boat basins and channels, placement of seawalls or other shoreline stabilization, and removal of native vegetation.
I'm sorry, it was prohibited, and I think you said provided.
Okay. I
Right here.
missed one. Oh, yes.
Very
Sorry,
different,
yes.
yes.
I'll start that sentence over again. It says prohibited activities include placement of material, dredging of boat basins and channels, placement of seawalls or other shoreline stabilization, and removal of native vegetation. Regulations for this district shall consider measures to minimize activities that would adversely affect the protection of federal and state protected species and their natural habitat. The primary purpose of this district is to maintain land and tidal water systems around Estero Island in its natural or near natural state to protect ecosystems, wildlife habitats, and environmental quality. The town may elect to provide for regulations supportive of habitat restoration and the management of public access for natural resource-based recreation and scientific studies within this land use as appropriate.
Thank you, Mayor. There is one thing that I did have a question on. Might be more of a question for Madam Attorney as well. I know that in the past we talked about a prohibition of placement of seawalls here. There are other types of shoreline stabilization, depending on how you interpret it. Living shorelines are a type of shoreline stabilization. Well, I wasn't sure if that's something the council wanted us to push a little bit more on for conservation areas. If it is, what Living Shoreline does, it tries to adapt that, adapt that shoreline, mangroves and so forth instead of seawalls. But if that's what you want to go, we would have to carve out an exception with words. I just wasn't sure last Wednesday how you wanted to proceed with that.
Suggestions?
So I think that in other communities, they're not bad, but living shorelines have policy implications to it.
Yes.
So my recommendation would be that we go ahead and stay with the language that we have and have a conversation about living shorelines and then include that in the LDC.
Yeah.
Would that work?
I think that would work. I left it out for the same reason, but I wanted confirmation from the mayor and council on this, and that was one of the points that I told myself I needed to bring up
Does
today.
anyone have any objection to Nancy's recommendation?
No.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Thank you, Mayor and council member, for that.
continue on.
Yeah, thank you. You'll see that on the next page then, because the tidal water and wetlands were so similar, but there are some specific aspects to your estuaries and so forth that you might want to keep separate. Instead of merging it all together, just taking this tidal water and just making it a subcategory of the overall conservation to give you that bit of tightening while maintaining some flexibility elsewhere was my recommendation here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Next item, next one down, you see the added indoor recreation as you had directed on Tuesday. Under number 5, under land use type defined, with residential uses. So where you have a residential unit, apartment, and they have an indoor recreation as part of their development that, well, actually wasn't allowed before technically.
Okay.
Yep. Going on to the next substantive area, if I could direct you to page 8. At the very top,
Can you
it
give
will
us
say-
a
Pardon?
section number? I don't have pages.
Oh, no, that's why I was about to read the section number,
Okay,
attorney.
thank you.
Yeah, but if you're running through your pages, it's easier to ruffle to, okay, I'm on the 8th one in. And at the very top, it should say FLU-1-C-4.
Yeah, it starts on the bottom of what
Yeah.
you would say is page 7 on yours, but
So
Building
there's
heights.
the significant portion, Mayor, if you want to read that for the public.
yeah, the first thing that changed on this, essentially, I won't read the entire thing unless everybody thinks I need to, but the change was to strike out the words 2 stories, so it's just 30 feet
Yeah.
on that first line item. And then as you continue down, it again highlights that 30-foot and removes the 2 stories. And then the line that was stricken out was particular attention would be paid to any permanent view corridors to Gulf or Bay waters that could be provided in exchange for allowing a building to be taller than two 3 stories, including the ground story in each case, and was replaced with, the town may consider public benefits in exchange for height as part of public benefits ordinance, where the town may consider additional height as provided in this section. And then the last line was added, public benefits shall be included in their respective development orders and development agreements where applicable, and while not exclusively for the public use and intended primarily to benefit the public for the lifetime of the respective agreements, complying with the town's code requirements shall not be a public benefit. That looks like a
Yes.
copy and paste of the previous line.
Yes, sir. I wanted to make sure that was consistent, but since we're talking about here and that's where our discussion was, when I went back, I was like, let me think about this again for you. You were talking about public benefits earlier, so having that consistency in language is important in
And
two
just,
places.
just kind of to recap on Tuesday, the reason this change was talked about was it's not allowing any more right as far as heights. It's just simply removing the confusion of currently you have to count the first parking area
Yes.
as a story, which would then conflict with having to have someone come in and ask for a variance or a deviation to meet that 30-foot height.
Yeah.
So we're just simply suggesting that we remove the story portion of it, but the height stays the same,
Yes, sir.
which currently in the code now,
Right.
or comp plan now and going in the future, is you start that count from base flood elevation or freeboard, whichever is used, correct?
Correct, Mayor. I would also add to that the reason was because the number of feet and the number of stories were not necessarily consistent. If you remember, it was a 2 stories and 30 feet. You typically don't have 2 15-feet stories. So that was the other reason why that change was necessary, and you'll worry about stories through the LDC and all that.
Okay?
I just want to add that the strikeout does not make this more burdensome or restrictive. You could still request a view corridor as a public benefit. It actually expands consideration of things that could be public benefits for height. So we don't have an SB 180 issue.
Very good. Any questions on that one? You have anything you want to add to that, Eddie?
No, sir.
Okay, continue on.
Moving on, should be on the next page, under policy FLU-1-E1, labeled pre-disaster build-back policy. Mayor, there should be an addition there that says the town shall develop a streamlined administrative process and a strikeout.
Yeah, the addition says the town shall develop a streamlined administrative process, and the strikeout is landowners may request this option through the plan development rezoning process, which requires a public hearing and notification of adjacent property owners.
Yes, sir. For the council's benefit, you'll notice that the strikeout was what we had actually discussed on Tuesday. But then when I went back on Wednesday and took a look at the strikeout and conferred with Jason, my thought was because the strikeout was removing a process by which they could rezone, which we do want to do, but on the letter of the language, it could be construed as being something more restrictive. We went back and said, you know what? We would suggest that the council add in a line that says you'll have an administrative process and that, to demonstrate the point that you're trying to loosen your regulation to make it easier for our property owners on the island to administer this. Otherwise, we might run afoul of SB 180.
Nancy, you don't have any issues with that language?
No, I would just say at the end of that sentence, if we could say "for this purpose," because the prior sentence talks about the need for the streamlined administrative process.
Right, for the purpose
For this
of-
purpose, yeah. I think it flows then.
Yeah, for the purpose of,
Oh, you mean?
After process?
of the,
So it should read, the town shall develop a streamlined administrative process for this purpose.
Yes.
for the purpose of,
Well, the first sentence.
oh,
Owners of existing developments that exceed the current density may also be permitted to replace for the same uses up to the existing lawful density prior to a natural disaster. The town shall develop a streamlined administrative process for this purpose.
For this purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Cool. I heard duh, and I was like, the purpose, but
Yeah.
this.
See how it
yeah,
flows.
Yeah,
Okay.
this purpose makes more sense. Thank you. Any additional questions?
Nope.
All right.
Continue on.
You note that at the general note, the future land use map will be replaced based on your approval. Edits are based to remove proposed and to change those land use categories. Specifically, I need to call on record, no actual changes to the specific properties, only the labeled as desired by the council and as discussed today. And that will go into your, for the record on this one.
Okay, so this reads, future land use map to be replaced based on edits to remove proposed and to account for conservation and tidal water subcategory as conservation, tidal water. No actual changes to specific properties, only labels.
Yeah,
So basically what you just said.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you, Mayor. There's nothing else on our future land use. We could move on to the next element.
Okay?
Scrolling down, you'll see that similar with the culture and other aspects. Under the policy CD-3-A-3 at the bottom of page 10, or the your 10th page.
It's just-
Number 5, it says work with the private sector to establish a new public pedestrian plaza. That clarified that it's not being done from the by the town itself, but you're encouraging either a private development or a public-private partnership down the line at your discretion.
Okay?
The next page, at the very top, says surface. We're informed we made that distinction, Mayor. Thank you for bringing that point to us last Tuesday, just so that that portion is about surface parking lots and
Okay.
frontages. Next up, housing element, general affordable housing strategies at the very top. See that we added the word attached and detached to the accessory dwelling units. We're changed from accessory apartment to accessory dwelling units. Mayor, is there a specific way you want to read this for the public, or?
I can read the whole underline thing with the highlighted, that way those that haven't seen it.
Clean, yeah.
Okay.
Item 4, yes.
Item 4 is consider implementation of an incentive-driven regulatory system, create and maintain policies on attached and detached accessory dwelling units, pathways for hotel to condo conversions, and single-family to duplex, triplex, and quadplex as appropriate. And 5 is consider development of land development codes that support and enable its aging population to remain independent and in their own home or in a non-health care environment for as long as their health allows. 6 is enable development and design strategies that enable older residents to remain in their community as their housing needs change, allowing accessory dwelling units such as garage apartments and in-law suites in all residential areas and connecting residential neighborhoods to daily commercial needs by allowing mixed income and mixed housing types to be located close to the neighborhood or commercial shopping areas, civic or culture institutions, and parks and open space areas.
Thank you, Mayor. And there is one additional change there on number 4 that, from our conversation, that I apologize for not striking through and highlighting, where it says, and single-family duplex, triplex, and quadplex as appropriate. That was supposed to be struck through in all instances. So I would like to register that change if it's all right with the council. and,
Repeat
Mayor
that
and
again.
council.
Eddie, where was that? 'Cause I
On number
remember-
4, at the end, see where it says C policy 4-C-7, right before that, it should end with a period after pathway for hotel to condo conversions, and the rest of that should be struck out.
Yeah, I remember that. Does anyone have any other corrections or concerns with that section? Nancy, you good? Okay, continue on, Eddie.
Continue moving on, you'll see in some places, I've added minor words like on page 13 with the continue to. That's, that's a general aspect I didn't mention before. That's just to try to steer you of clear of any SB 180 challenges.
Again, we don't have page
Yeah.
numbers, so
Yeah,
what
sorry.
is the section that's under?
It would be
policy?
on policy HOU 1-A-4. There's no other changes there, but
continue to, okay.
where it says new house, where that continue to with that, it would new housing shall continue to be built to comply with the applicable Florida Building Code and FEMA standards where required by state and or federal law. You're already requiring that, but
Just
without the word
continuation.
to continue to, it looked like you're imposing a new requirement when it's something you're already actually doing.
Makes sense.
So you'll see cases of that throughout the document where it's something you're doing, and we don't want someone who's not familiar with the history of the town to misinterpret what's happening, and that's what's happening in other areas, unfortunately.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Regarding SB 180, because, throughout this document, the council as well as the LPA has been very diligent about trying to avoid any undue burden and unreasonableness, unduly burdensome. But what I wanted to remind everyone is that in SB 180 itself, there is a process in the event there is a challenge. So basically, SB 180 says that any person can file a suit against the impacted local government for declaratory and injunctive relief. The state statute also says before a plaintiff may file that lawsuit, they have to notify the local government and set forth the facts upon which their claim is based. The local government then has the opportunity within 14 days to withdraw or revoke the action or otherwise declare it void. So again, I think you're doing a great job in trying to avoid any type of SB 180 issues. But if for some reason someone should interpret it as being overly burdensome and more restrictive, there is a process in state statute that we can avail ourselves of to fix it before we end up in protracted litigation.
Nancy, if you wouldn't mind, just a quick brief for those who are listening, quick definition of the SB 180 again, just quickly.
So SB 180 basically provides that impacted local governments that have been impacted by a hurricane, there are certain timelines where the governing body cannot adopt more restrictive or more burdensome procedures requiring review, approval, or the issuance of various land use actions. Should it proceed and go to court, I believe attorney fees would also be imposed on the local government, which is really the biggest hammer that the legislature has when they adopt legislation, is to use that.
Thank you.
Continue, Eddie.
Moving on toward the end of what you see is housing, there should be at the very bottom of the last page within housing, which is about 15 pages in, there is policy HOU-1-E-12. The most major thing at the end of that is instead of 2025, because we're in the end of 2025, it's 2026. I do want to just ask again, just because it is a process to adopt these changes if the council believes 2026 is appropriate, or if it needs to be 2027.
What is your recommendation?
I would say.
More time the
Jason?
better?
Huh? You're okay?
We're okay.
Staff would say 2026 should be okay, but
Okay.
we would, staff will provide you with the recommendation and then ask to schedule for a public hearing at appropriate time.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay,
very good.
okay. All right, moving on to the next element. Transportation. These are all very, very minor items, as you can see, right down to the capitalization of a T, like on a bunch of these. And just clarification of a word, D's at the end under policy T-8-4, where it said these signed in your original policy, and instead we'll just clarify and say variable method just for clarity purposes, because that's what that policy was about. So all the transportation was very, very minor items.
Yep.
The next element, historic preservation element, there was the aspect of the task force, and we did remove the aspect of working with the other task force, and just very, per your instruction, just changed it to the task force will work to advise the town instead of the task force will work with a very specific committee to advise the town. That way it had the broader mandate to work with any other committee if the council deems fit.
Very good.
Moving on to recreation open space element. The next page, or about 19 pages in, if give a second for folks to move to the appropriate pages. Recreation open space element at the very top, policy ROS-1-A-7, Bolded Point Park. We had discussion about this last Tuesday, and want to really hone in on just deleting what it said before in your original plan, and now saying the town will balance the need for accessibility and environmental protection for Bolded Point Park, and keep it simple and really hone in on that balance there. In addition to that, because in order to preserve that balance, the next policy RS-1-A-8, we went back and said, well, we gave it a title as well, low impact access to Bolded Point Park, to clarify that intent by having those low impact access like walking and bicycling like they do in other barrier islands that similar, park system, and say encourage Lee County to study, implement, and encourage alternative means of low impact or non-single occupant vehicular traffic in the Bolded Point Park. You'll see that the word, I added the word non-single occupant vehicular traffic because there may be folks who are handicapped who might need to come in a handicapped van and so forth, and there's an accessibility and ADA issue there that we needed to account for, but so might need to tighten the language a little bit there, but the general intent is to say, hey, we want you to not expand the parking lot and increase further into the park, try to walk and bike there if you can.
Very good.
Right. Next one, ROS-1-B-2. That's a change to delete some of the words and just to say the use of marine resources.
Yep.
Moving on to coastal management, other than giving things a title, and some corrections like removing things that are no longer there, like on objective 5 that's no longer there. It's just giving titles and capitalizing town.
Right.
Conservation.
Eddie, I hate to interrupt. I just caught something. It's two or three pages back on the encourage water transportation.
What's the
Let's go back
policy that
to
Policy T-17D-46. About 2 or 3 pages back.
T-17? Oh, I see, okay. It's at the very top.
Yep.
You've tried to do a nice job of getting rid of the word water taxi and use the phrase water transportation so we can include both water taxis and water ferries. But there is about midway through, it says that require a water taxi to provide. I think that's the one area you did not
this one.
strike taxi. And I think you just want to strike that and say that require
Yeah, I see it.
water transportation to provide. You see that?
About the fourth line down.
Pardon?
Over here.
Over,
Right after where you have it underlined.
okay, yeah, so, thank you, that should be struck out.
I think you just take the out as well and say that require water transportation to provide.
Yeah. Water, taxi, Pardon?
Just so that it's consistent with what you added at the
I'm
bottom.
reading the entire sentence again. The required water taxi to provide dedicated parking spaces at every stop. It might be,
Go
it
ahead.
might not be water transportation, and I think council member is right about saying water taxi and or ferries on this case, but you could also say
Yeah,
transportation.
I'm fine to do, if people are comfortable, I actually like water, taxi, and/or ferry as opposed to water transportation, but I could go either way. I just think in that particular area, you forgot to make it consistent. But I don't mind using the word water taxi and/or water ferry. I don't think a lot of people understand the nuanced difference between the two, but the definitions are substantially different. So I'd like for the town to encourage both. And I don't know of any other ones, at least at this point, the hydrofoils are coming out there, but I don't know of any other water transportation aside from a
Right.
water taxi or water ferry. So-
And the reason I'm suggesting that, to follow what Councilmember Adel is saying, as far as where he had pointed out on the fourth line down, taxis and ferries, it's because water transportation is the term you should keep on the other section. Well, if you have your own private boat, that's technically water transportation. Are you then required as a private citizen to provide for that private parking space? I don't think that's appropriate policy. Here, the intent of this policy is if you have a provider that's doing the public transportation system on water, then they should be the one who maintains that, aspect of ensuring enough parking for
Okay,
that facility.
If that's the thought, Eddie, let's just go ahead and include that require a water taxi and/or ferry to provide dedicated
And
parking.
then keep transportation in the later section.
Yeah, that's fine.
Does that cover what you're trying to get across, Eddie? I think it does.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just add the word and/or ferry next to water taxi there, and then you'll be fine.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for that. Going back down to coastal management element, you see that it's really just adding titles
Right.
to the policy, descriptive titles. Under conservation element, you'll see that there are some renumberings. But importantly, the first major portion that policy CON 3-B-2, additional protection for dunes and beaches. It's about 27 pieces of paper in. And you'll see that starts on the bottom and follows onto the top of the next page where it's highlighted. And the change there would result from last week's meeting to say, undertake a management and maintenance program to protect, restore, and enhance as appropriate current and future dunes and control invasive exotic vegetation. It also speaks to the town's existing permitting program as well. But it's loose enough that if you find other things that are beneficial to the town, it doesn't preclude you from enacting those measures in the future.
Okay. And then the other main one that I don't know if you were going to skip over it, was number 3 under policy
Yeah.
CON 4B3 task force element. It was maintaining a ban on the collection of live shells.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I believe that was it for the conservation element. You'll see that when you start rolling down the rest of it, it's just giving title to the rest of this, some of these policies. The next element is the capital improvement element. There is one clarifying change, and my apologies, Mayor, last week I misspoke when I said it was 175, because it said 200 and
Yeah.
then 175, and I said 175. Just that due diligence on Wednesday, I went back and checked the data. It needs to be 200 based on your data.
Okay.
And that's where your level of service standard needs are for this community.
Okay.
Next up is, give me a second, my computer just, there we
What he
go.
was referring to is here.
Utilities element,
1B1.
you'll see that it's really just adding the title to the to the various policies that you had before. That's why you don't see the underline of your original policies. You had a comprehensive plan that had titles in some elements and no titles in other elements. So this will make this completely consistent at the end of the process, where you have title for every single policy for reference purposes, from beginning to end.
Eddie, on this one piece here, there's one policy U-1-A-7, power microgrid feasibility study. We had discussed that at length, and then in here it says the town shall study the feasibility of a microgrid to provide power to the island. Frankie, are we better off saying may, or if we could change that to a may, because that's a little bit in flux
Yeah.
at this point?
Yep.
I just want to do what we're good, I just want it to reflect reality.
Right, may study.
Okay.
Correct. Sound good?
It's-
I
well,
have
It's in flux, yes.
registered change on here so that we can make sure it's formatted correctly. Is there anything else on the utilities element before we move on further?
It's kind of your wheelhouse, Jim. Got anything you see in there?
I think it's great.
Okay.
About 33 pages in, we're into intergovernmental coordination element. We're almost at the end. You see that much of this is on the titles. I will bring your attention down to IGC A4, where I struck out on review again the 1996 amendment to Chapter 163, 3177. That's been amended so many times that we don't want to necessarily just point to a specific year of amendment here at this point. To comply with state statute, just refer to state statute. Not how you normally write these, with like point out specific amendments, but so that both a major and minor change. It's important here. And as you see that through most of it, it just either strike through about updating names like DCA is now Florida Commerce, and there are aspects where it's referring to policies that are deleted and no longer exist, for example. There is, I'm going to refer down to IGC D-4. I did strike out by 1998. Seems to be a very dated policy. I'm not sure if the council wants to add a revised date to that. I don't think there's one that's needed, but I wanted to point it out in case you feel differently.
Anyone have any objection to Eddie's suggestion? No.
IGC D4, about 34 pages in. There's nothing further on the intergovernmental coordination. All right. We'll move on to property rights, which is the very end, your very last page, and you see there no changes other than adding the titles. And I apologize for the uber long document, but there was a very productive meeting on Tuesday, and we were able to hopefully move forward with this.
Any questions for Eddie? I think.
Mayor, I had one question. I
Yes.
got to find it. Back to that section on housing where you have the date for the adoption of, it is HOU-1-E-12, the adoption of the Land Development Code by 2026. Do we have to have a date in there? Could we just end the sentence after regulations into its Land Development Code?
You don't have to have it in there. Technically speaking, you have a 12-month deadline anyway on anything you change in comprehensive plan. So it's not something that we had originally recommended, but we were asked to add in. And then when we were told, hey, 2025, I mean, I would just take out the date, to be perfectly frank, but it's totally up to y'all.
I'm fine with it. Anybody else has any?
Take it
Okay,
out.
Take it out.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me make a note of that so that when my folks format your actual document, they know to look at that a little further. Bear with me for a second. Okay, let's see, review. Okay, please see and delete date. Okay. Boom. Save. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have anything for Eddie?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right point to do that or not, but just to describe and update folks what the next steps are. This gets transmitted to the state today, then what happens after that?
Right. If adopted by the council, this is your second reading. After second reading, under the revised state statute from, I think it was either 1080 or I think it's 1080, SB 1080 this year. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. There were so many. You have up to 30 days to submit the adoption. On receipt of that, it starts a 30-day time clock. If there are no objections or challenges received by parties withstanding within those 30 days, then your comprehensive plan takes effect on the 31st day. The submission goes through a state coordinated review process because it is tied to your evaluation appraisal report process that is mandated every 7 years. And so it has to be submitted to the state, about 6 different agencies, and all your surrounding municipalities, as well as the county, who are allowed to comment on the plan. Yeah. I think that, yeah. So we would, because of the changes here, we would expect it will probably take about 2 or 3 weeks after the council vote to make those changes in the format it's needed to get sent to the state. So we would expect that to go out. I'm aiming for Friday the 12th, but it might be sometime the week of the 15th that this will go out. And that was when the time clock will start for 30 days when they receive it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
I would like to just thank you, Eddie, for coming here last week on such short notice, and everyone in this room and everyone outside watching who participated in this last go-around. People were heads down, working on their homes, and I know that a lot of attention was given to this, and some people feel that it wasn't, but they just weren't as focused as we normally are. So I thank everyone for their diligence. I think this makes everyone feel a lot better.
It has certainly been a very long process.
It has, but I think it's better for it.
Yeah, well, 5 hurricanes will do
We'll
that to
do that
people,
to
yeah.
you, yeah.
I
So
want to
you,
thank the
everyone.
mayor, the council, the LPA, members of the public who came to our 3 workshops over the summer. So time without there's really scheduled to leave comments and notes because this has been a very robust conversation. It hasn't been an easy one, but it's one that has developed over time, and it's one that a lot of great thought and a lot of time has been spent by everyone within the community, whether you were elected, appointed, or just a business owner or a resident. And that's what makes the comprehensive plans work, and when you come together, a community like you have.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
All right, public comment. We'll open it up for public comment. Terry, would you like to say a few words? All right. Okay. With that, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for discussion or a vote. Do you want us, Nancy, to still take 2 votes, one for the amendments and one for the
I
actual
think it would
ordinance?
be easier, yes, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the amendments that were discussed on Tuesday and just discussed again today here at the meeting.
I'll second that.
We'll get a motion by Mary Allers, seconded by Councilor Link. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Ms. Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sefford?
Aye.
Councilman Adderholt?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
All right, then I'll also make a motion to approve ordinance 24-10 for the comprehensive plan.
Mayor, can I make one comment?
You sure?
So part of our typical language that we try to put in our ordinances regarding scrivener's error, so there is the opportunity, working with Eddie and Jason, as they put all this together in final form, if something, they may need to tweak a letter or something like that, that is part of your ordinance. And as an example, the very last paragraph does say that upon second reading this 17th day of November, which is a
Yes.
scrivener's error, should be the first day of December.
It was
Very good.
aspirational.
Nice catch, Counselor.
You got that, Scribbler?
I will amend my motion to reflect the correction made by our town attorney. Is there a
Matt will
second?
second.
All right, got a motion by Mayor Aller, seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Ms. Link?
Aye.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Almost too simply. No, seriously, thank you. It's a very big deal, a very big step for you, and we're very grateful for your help. Thank you.
Very good, appreciate it.
Way to
Thank you,
go,
gentlemen.
Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next item, which is a resolution of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Lee County, Florida pursuant to section 196.19783O FLA statute, electing to not exempt property from ad valorem property tax under section 196.19783D1A FLA statute, commonly known as Live Local Act Property Tax Exemption, providing for incorporation of the recitals, required findings, direction to the mayor, direction to the town manager, applicability, severability, and a conditional effective date. Nancy, you want to start this off?
So basically, this is an exemption that is available under state statute, but it is based on the data that would come from the Schimberg Institute. And because of the governmental shutdown, that data has not been made available. So this resolution is contingent, or conditional, I guess is one way to say it. And it would only go into effect if the data that is provided applies to the town. There is a deadline to have this adopted prior to the end of the year, so we're proposing that this resolution be approved by council so that if the data comes back, then we would be in a position to not exempt the ad valorem tax section.
Questions for Nancy? John? Jim?
No.
Rebecca?
Just some clarification. So then, would you say that this is a just-in-case opt-out?
Yes.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, just for the record, we're way ahead of a lot of other municipalities on this, aren't we?
I think we're timely. I don't know, Jason Green, if you have any feel for where we are, but I do know at the end of the year, just, with our taxes and everything, everybody's always scrambling to get everything done by the end of the year. And yes, this needs to be done. It would have been done, however, the data was not available. So it is correct that the town is moving forward in the right direction in adopting this as a contingency.
Thank you.
Okay. No more questions? Public comment? Terry? Nope? Okay. I'll close public comment. Bring it back to the council for further discussion or a motion. Any discussion? Is there a motion for Resolution 25-352?
Mr. Mayor, I move we pass Resolution 25-352, Live Local Aid Act Property Tax Exemption.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Vice Mayor Safford, seconded by Councilor Link. Any further discussion? Vice
So
Mayor?
there's a difference between live and live.
Oh, live and live.
You said live, Scott.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Thanks for the correction. So I will
Who's the
amend
turkey?
that as noted.
So he's a live turkey, is that what you were leading to?
Yeah,
Well,
I was thinking Live Aid, I don't know.
A scrivener's
A
error.
scribbler's error.
There you go.
All right, so I amend my motion to
Okay.
Live Local Act.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Councilor Link?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilor Adderhope? Councilor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to our administrative agenda. Our first item is Resolution 25-332, updating banking signatory authorities. This is a resolution of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, updating and authorizing town officials access and authority on certain town bank accounts with First Foundation Bank and investments with the Florida Municipal Investment Trust and providing for an effective date. Joe, good morning.
Okay, good morning. I'm Joe Onzig, Finance Director. This is a formal update of the approval of the signatories on the town's bank accounts and investment banking, and it also is the authorization of those who would need to administer those accounts. So it's formally recognizing that, again, it's just restating what I think was done earlier, but then updating it as well, that William McKinney, Dan Ehlers, and Scott Safford are the authorized signatories, and our town manager, town clerk, finance director, mayor, and vice mayor are all authorized to contact the bank to execute any administrative functions.
Okay, any questions for Joe or Will on, Will, you have anything else to add? No. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Is there a motion for Resolution 25-332?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 25-332.
All right, got a motion by Councilmember Adderholt. I'll second. Any further discussion? Councilor Adderholt?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Councilor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Councilor King?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 25-330 South Water Tower Appropriation Grant. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, authorizing the town manager to execute and administer a grant from the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection through the fiscal year 25-26 state appropriations for the South Water Tower renovations and mitigation, authorizing the town manager to execute related documents needed to implement and administer the grant and programs, providing an effective date.
Jeff, you want to go ahead and discuss this, please?
Good morning. Jeff Hauge, Community Services Director. So this is appropriations that we put forth from last year. It's a $350,000 appropriation with a $350,000 match to help with the restoration of the south tower facade for the most part. The roof is in really bad shape. The outside is in bad shape. We need to put up some security there too, so cameras, a little better fencing, those kind of things. So those are the projects that we're going to be working on at the south tower.
Questions for Jeff? Jim?
Jeff, first of all, thank you for that. I have to say there's not a lot of blight on the south end, but that's an area that's struggling. So I appreciate your prioritization of it. Could you just give people who live in that neighborhood just a rough idea of the timeline that would be in place to make these improvements?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say with putting it out for RFP.
Just ballpark.
Or ITB. I would say, sometime in this next year, for sure. We already have quotes on the roof, so that one should be a little quicker.
First half of next year or second half of next year? Ballpark.
I would probably, depending on materials, I don't know, the way the Mound House went, I hate to even put a timeline to it, but I would say by June or July, maybe, possibly.
Start or finish?
Hopefully finish, because we're already with quotes, so. But again, after the hurricane, I'm not putting in timelines on anything.
I would never hold you to anything after our last 3 years, but
once it's approved, I believe we have the
Jeff,
funds.
do you have a time and date on that?
We already have the
What time of
funds,
day would
so.
that be?
So I'm thinking maybe July
Standard Time or?
21st at about 10:30 a.m. we'll have it complete. No, I don't know.
There you go, Jeff.
There you go.
All right, that's enough of you.
All right, any other questions for Jeff or Will? Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions or a motion for Resolution 25-330?
Well, I will gladly move approval of, just lost my place, Resolution 25-330.
I will second. Any further discussion? Counselor Adderholt?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Counselor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
And Counselor King?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Next is item C. This is Resolution 25-329, Tyler Technologies, First Amendment to implement Tyler Munis. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, authorizing the town manager to execute an amendment to the existing 3-year contract with Tyler Technologies as amended by addendum on December 23rd, 2024, to provide software as a service, SaaS, and annual support and implementation services to replace the town's financial and accounting software with Tyler Munis instead of Tyler ERP Pro, representing an initial startup fee increase of $17,100 and annual reoccurring fee increase of $1,613, authorizing the needed budget amendment to reflect this change, including additional contract language required by Florida statutes concerning breach of contract during a state of emergency and providing for an effective date. Joe?
If you remember, about a year ago, you had authorized the purchase of Tyler ERP Pro to replace our accounting system. Since then, the implementation process began in the spring, roughly, and then, of course, we had all of the transition and turnover in the finance department that kind of put all that on hold. In the meantime, our new budget manager came from the town of Cape Coral and was very familiar with Tyler Munis and spoke very highly of it. And we were originally under the impression that moving to that version would be much more expensive than what it actually turned out to be. And as reflected in the title of the resolution, it's only $1,613 more per year for that version. And what this new version would allow us to do, it's a more robust budget module that will facilitate more efficient management of the budget development. It also has the ability to prepare multi-year budgets. We're not quite there yet, but it would at least allow us to move in that direction. But probably the most significant aspect of the new software, or this upgraded version of the software, is that it has a more robust grant module that will enable the automatic generation of the schedule of expenditures for federal awards. And then also it has a project accounting module that's integrated with the grant module. And this probably just is hard to even comprehend what this is all about. But it's that functionality that would enable the tracking of like the FEMA projects, the grants, and all of the specific tracking items that they're looking for in terms of what they're expecting our system to provide. Our system doesn't have that now, and so we're trying to do all that manually, but this software will allow us to do this in a more automated fashion. And there's some other improvements as well. It will cost $17,100 more to implement, but how we're going to fund that is that we have unspent implementation budget from last year of, let's see, what that was, $35,684 that we needed to move into this year anyway, but that would help fund that $17,100 additional cost of implementation. So part of this resolution is to also then approve the budget adjustment that's necessary to move the leftover unspent funds from last year to this year, and then to approve the amended contract as well.
Questions for Joe?
So, Joe, given if we approve this, what's the new timeline for switchover?
From our contact with Tyler Technologies, they're indicating that it's very possible for us to go live by the end of or by the beginning of next fiscal year, which would be October 1st. So it would be a lot of work to do between now and then, but that would be the new implementation.
Okay, so actually, we'll be working with both, but we'll go live and drop the other one October 1?
Yes, so
Okay.
the time in the interim would be the implementation, which.
Okay, oh, I know.
And just for comparison, we had anticipated going live originally in the spring of 2026, so now it'll be the fall of 2026.
But in your opinion, it's much more robust and it'll take away a lot of the stuff you do. You do a lot of stuff by hand, I know, so.
Yes.
So try to eliminate that. And then the Tyler system, actually, someone can work, the way it was explained to me in the audit committee is, somebody can work on a, let's say, an item or a county module, and then all his changes are done, and then somebody can take over from there, and you can see who is actually doing the work.
Yes, it would include process workflow.
Yeah.
So,
That's the word I was looking for.
yes, like for example, purchase orders. If somebody wants to submit a purchase order request, it'll go through, and then there's like a automatic approval steps where it'll go to the next person for approval.
Right.
That way it helps manage that rather than manually trying to track down approvals.
Yeah. That'll make it much better for when we audit, we can see, you know,
Yes.
whose PO this was, who approved it, what the process was. So I think it's well worth the money, and I would like to go forward with this, see what your guys' comments are.
Just to piggyback on that, will it have safeguards in there, say a process wasn't followed correctly? You said process flow, but do you get to implement, this is what the process, what this paperwork has to be here before it can go to the next step? Will it catch, like any other form you fill out, if you forget to put the date in, it doesn't let you submit it until you have all the required documentation?
Well, to the extent any of that data is input into the system, yes, it'll there's like edit checking and it'll make sure that it's correct. But because you mentioned that, this also allows you to attach the documents electronically, so it'll follow them through. So if you have contracts, if you have resolutions, if you have anything like that that's associated with a purchase, it'll follow along the documents. So we won't have to be searching in separate places for all those items. It'll be all housed together electronically. So that'll also be an improvement.
They did a demo, and everybody was like, wow, that's way better than the system we have right now. So,
Rebecca?
Oh, I do have comments on this one. Joe, this is excellent work. I can't tell you how happy this makes me. And if the town people understood what they were getting with this, I know they don't, but this is huge. I spent a lot of time last night evaluating both systems, comparing them and contrasting them. This is my wheelhouse. I spent 40 years doing this, building these kind of systems. This is worth every penny. This is worth every penny. This will save us more than it's cost us. Thank you. Good work.
Jim, any questions?
Nothing additional.
John?
No.
Thank you, Joe. All right, is there any other further discussion or a motion for Resolution 25-329?
Mr. Mayor, I move we pass Resolution 25-329, Tyler Technologies First Amendment to implement Tyler Munis.
Okay,
Happy to second that.
all right, we got a motion by Vice Mayor Safford, seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? Scott?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. This is our final administrative agenda item. This is Resolution 25-331, RFP-26-01-PW, Fort Myers Beach Landscaping and Irrigation. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach awarding RFP-26-01-PW to Tidewater Landscape as the most responsive and responsible bidder to complete landscaping and irrigation repairs to residential and/or community yards damaged by utility work as recommended by the Selection Advisory Committee, authorizing the town manager to negotiate and prepare an agreement for the recommended services subject to legal review, authorizing the town manager to sign the agreement, providing for Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date. Will?
Jeff, why don't you go
Jeff.
ahead and talk about this, please?
Before you start, Jeff, I just have a question. Based on the title and based on public comment earlier, is this specific to just replacing damaged work, or will it also include the right-of-way on Estero Boulevard?
Yeah, so Jeff Hauge, Community Services Director. Yeah, this is a contract for them to do the Fort Myers landscape and irrigation, whatever we need. There is a clause in there, I think it's section 3.2, something around there, in the contract that says any additional work, and they had to list their cost of labor, and then it would be the cost of the plants on that too. So, yes, this does include all landscaping, and to answer the question, I guess, on the native plants, they have to consult with us on all plantings anyway. We have to follow our native or Florida-friendly plants that go in as we want to as well. So any insinuation that we'd be using, invasive or non-Florida or non-native plants, we will not be doing that.
There was a comment made in public comment about the east side and the west side of Estero Boulevard. And yesterday, I just happened to notice driving down how much more at certain times of the day, the shade now extends to the other side of the road where it never did that before the storm. Is there going to be reconsideration of that document that was referred to as far as what grows on the east side versus the west side, based on what we're starting to see now of the shadowing at certain times of the day, all the way across Estero Boulevard now?
Yeah, I haven't seen that document. I know Bowditch and Matanzas Pass are both Lee County properties, so I don't know if the town actually has one. I'll definitely look into it on that. But yeah, we also work with the Garden Club on finding plants and appropriate plants on that too. So yeah, we'll consult before we do a major project like Estero Boulevard. We definitely consult with some other individuals, that have a little more green thumb than I do and has some expertise in that.
And the other question I have is, we obviously know we had received some money to maintain Estero Boulevard right away. That money will specifically be used for Estero Boulevard, correct?
Correct, I believe. I'm sorry.
Then the funding, as in the title, the funding from repairing, will that come from the contractors that do the damage then? Or how does that get paid for?
For Estero Boulevard?
No, outside of Estero. We know we have
Oh,
funding that is in place
it
for-
depends. A lot of this is, when there's a water main break or there's, there's a break on the road, we end up tearing up landscaping in somebody's property. This came about because we continued to have a bunch of breaks after the storms, and we had to continue to get 3 quotes or go out for bid on all these landscaping and irrigation contracts. So we just thought it'd be a lot easier where we can just do a bid, and the winner of that bid we could just call them and they'd be on call, since we do call them quite often. So they not only do the landscaping, there's also a clause in the contract that states they can do concrete work, those kind of things, to repair driveways. So yeah, they'll be doing all kind of landscaping. When we start doing the beach accesses, they'll do that as well. So yeah, they'll just somebody we can call and get work done without having to spend 3 months trying to get a contract.
And the last question I have is timeframe. I'm excited to see that we're probably going to get to a place where we could start seeing some rejuvenation of Estero Boulevard, now that we're seeing all the cleanups happen and the house is being built. I don't get a chuckle. It's been a long time coming, but are we moving forward then with Estero Boulevard? Or this is just, once it's there, we'll figure it out?
Mr. Mayor, I recently received an email from Rob Price from the county, who informed me that construction along Estero, the main centerpiece where they'll be digging up, will begin in January. So we will not be able to do our landscaping until that project completes, because they will likely tear up some right-of-ways. So we do not want to do any landscaping, planting until that project is done.
Well, can we do like we did when they did the boulevard the first
In
time? Can we follow
segmented
behind
piece.
them?
Absolutely, we can do that.
Do it as they complete, we can get right behind them and do
I
it?
just wanted to give some perspective around timelines.
And they're still gonna start on the south end, right, as far as I remember, when it
I
comes
can
to
confirm
repairing?
with them. I mean, if that was the plan, he didn't say they were deviating from
Well,
their
I think it's
plan.
gonna be very important to find that out, because January.
Will do.
The last thing we need is more construction on the north end of the island.
Exactly. Thank you.
Any questions for Jeff? Scott?
Not at this time.
Rebecca?
Jeff, I have a question as it pertains to the ranking. Do we go, I'm looking at, it was page 550 of our packet. Do we total up, is it the lowest score or the highest score that would win this?
From the selection committee,
Yes.
it would be the highest score.
Okay. Because I had, the previous pages have different numbers than the totals.
So we had a discussion during, I don't know if you watched the bid opening or not, but we had some discussions. It was actually tied. We had some discussions and amended, one of the selection committee members amended their score as we were speaking.
I saw that. That was,
Page
that was,
252.
went from a 1 to a 2 for Georgina's?
Possibly, I'd have to look at the charts. It sounds right, though.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that the score sheets for each of the 3 are in here, but the totals don't match up with the totals on the total page. So I'm just wondering if I'm missing some other scoring element. Because
No, I was just one of the selection committee members. I know that the clerk's office tallied them up.
they may not have got.
Oh, you're seeing where it says 11 and
Yeah,
7?
see here, this
Yeah.
total's
Yeah.
11.
So I'm just looking at 11.
So
22,
Chad's is 11.
33.
11 and 7
Yeah.
for Chad, but it says 7 and 10, it should be 11 and 7. So the numbers were brought over here incorrectly, so it should be 33 and 25.
I see what you're saying. That would change.
So that changes the outcome. That's what I'm, just making sure I'm not missing something.
Yeah, so on our packet page 551, if you look at that one, it says 11 and 7. And then you go down to the next page. Well, where the confusion is it says, it's actually on page 552. That total, because it changed from a 1 to a 2, should be 8 instead of 7.
That's right, and I have that, 11 and 8.
Okay.
That's correct on the total page.
Yep. And then the
And
next
then,
one,
that was Chad's, and then
the last one,
Jeff
Jeff's
had
is
11 and 12. That's correct. And Chad had 11 and 7, but it says 7 and 10.
Yeah, the numbers were flip-flopped on the total from Chad's. 'Cause he had Green Construction Technologies at 11 and Tidewater at 7, but when you go up, those numbers are reversed. And it's 10 versus 11.
Right, so that would be 33 for Green Construction and 25 for Tidewater.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good catch.
If I understand that that's where they came from, because that's what the attachments are. So I'm sorry to,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd have to look at it and talk to the clerk's office. I can tell you what my scores were, but I don't
Perhaps we
remember what
we
they were.
Just right here.
Yeah,
Table this.
well, is it time sensitive? Do you need to have it today, or can it wait
No,
until the
we-
15th?
We can table this.
can wait.
And bring it back.
Why don't we
Yeah,
table
I
this?
think that's a good idea. to
Yeah,
just go
I
back to
recommend
this.
that, Mr. Mayor. Thank
thank you.
All right, I will make a motion to table Resolution 25-331 to, do we have to do a date certain, Nancy?
No, it's not an ordinance or a resolution, but,
Well, it is a resolution. but-
resolution.
oh, I'm sorry. If you want staff to bring it back on the 15th, that would be fine, or to a date uncertain.
Well, is it, I mean, if that's gonna change who potentially gets the award, do you need time to reach back out to that?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to the clerk's office because they put all this together. So I'll get the originals or whatever they are, whatever's on there, I'll look.
We just wanna make sure you have enough time to,
Oh, by next
the
meeting
next meeting?
should be fine.
Okay.
okay, so
So
I'll
We
make
can
a
do it by the
motion
bring it
to,
15th.
back.
to table Resolution 25-331 for RFP 26-01-PW, to come back on our December 15th meeting.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mayor Allers, seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion?
My discussion is not related to your motion, but it's related to the subject matter at hand. Once we find the appropriate vendor, I'll ask the deputy town manager on this one. Is there a is this vendor going to be putting the landscape plan together for Estero Boulevard, or do you and Jeff already have one that you've put together, or at least in concept? What is the status of the plan for Estero Boulevard, and how do we communicate that to the citizenry?
So we discussed with Tidewater previously, their landscape, they were contracted as the plan,
Okay,
not exactly the landscaper to install the plantings.
Gotcha.
So we are now at that point of creating a contract with a bid to bind that individual company who would do the plantings. So we are at that stage, and whoever that contractor is, that's who we will move forward with.
and if I could, and I hope I'm being fair here, it doesn't appear as if that plan that this firm put together has gotten a lot of public attention. Does it exist? Could it be presented at M&P, or?
We can go back and find that,
I
certainly.
just haven't heard a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah, probably because it hasn't gotten to that point where we're going forward with any movement with Estero Boulevard, but we
Yeah.
can dig that back out and bring it forward. At the initial conversation around that contract, we had spoken to the garden club and those other individuals who are very interested in the kind of plantings that would occur along Estero Boulevard. So we'll go back and find that.
And I do understand that this is a challenging proposal because everyone's got an opinion. But nonetheless, I just haven't seen a lot of what this proposal is. And at
Yes.
some point, it'd be nice to get some more public
Absolutely.
exposure to it, so at least you can't be, you'll never make everybody happy, but at least you can't be accused of not giving everyone an opportunity to have some input.
Yes, and now it all seems timely, given that it's coming to fruition.
Sounds great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, continue on.
No, any other discussion or questions? All right, we got a motion and a second. I'm an aye. Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Counselor Idaho?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Next is our final public comment. Come on up, Terry. Hey, hey. And here we thought you were just hanging out because you like us so much.
Terry Kane, resident, Fort Myers Beach. In regard to the plantings, I was just trying to give you resources to go to because plant lists have been created for this island. Another really good book to have is Vascular Plants of Florida by Wonderland and Hansen. You don't have to have any knowledge of plants. If you have that next to you, you can look it up right away to see what's exotic and not exotic. And what my concern was that the RFP, I don't know who writes the RFPs for the town. I don't know if it's you, I don't know who it is. Please go back and review this RFP, only because the town gives a list of suggested plants and suggestive mulches to use. I don't have it in front of me, I wish I did. One of the plants is Seaside Mayho. They just put Mayho in the list. The town created that list. I mean, I don't know when, I don't know how. It was probably many, many years ago because it looks like a very old list. And these are really, really very invasive exotic. Seaside Mayhos are just horrible, horrible plants. The other thing is, one of the things that lots of landscapers like to use are cocoa mat. I took a long walk around Bay Oaks the other day. Cocoa mat was used. It sounds great. It sounds great on paper, but cocoa mat is put together by a plastic webbing that is not great for little kids that are running around, and it's not great for wildlife. So I would suggest regular mulch or something like that. Cocoa mat, I've used it for years, and I've spent years pulling it out. So it just doesn't biodegrade. They'll tell you that the webbing does biodegrade. It does not. After 5 years, it still doesn't biodegrade, even longer. So they were my main concerns about exotic plants. As far as what side of the island, our island, you can cross-section it, and we have beaches and dune sections where different kinds of plants grow on that side of Estero Boulevard, and then we have what's called the uplands behind Estero Boulevard, and then the island slopes back into the bay, which has another different zone of planting. So we have many different zones of plants, and I just wanted everybody to be cognizant of what kind of plants are planted in what zones, mostly for success. We've gone through a lot of destruction lately. I really want to see plants succeed, so it's important to put the right plant in the right place. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you, Terry. There's no one else here, so we will close public comment. Town manager items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few things. So first of all, the update on school discussions, how that's going is myself and the deputy superintendent have agreed to another round of staff discussions on December 10th. Myself, Becky and Nancy, Tracy, and some others will be involved with members of their staff to continue to discuss the letter that was received a little over a week ago, our response to that, and try and carry some of the council recommendations forward into that discussion, see if we can make any progress before the end of the year that I can bring back to you potentially on the 15th, at least for an update to the town council. I'd also like to provide an update on our next step when it comes to National Flood Insurance Program, and I'll let Tracy give you an update on the CRS.
Thank you, Will. Later on today, we have a virtual meeting with Paula from Versic, who is the third-party contractor who works with FEMA to review our community rating system documentation. Not sure what that will be, but it is a rather lengthy virtual meeting, so we hope we get some more direction. In the meantime, we have been submitting all the documentation through community development and floodplain management specifically regarding things such as our GIS mapping. And, you know, GIS is the layering that you can do with maps, like you could have boundaries, then you can have zoning layers on top of that, and so on, land use. And they review that, they review our vulnerability reports, they review our process for permitting, our documentation for emergency management recovery, et cetera, and then we are assigned a rating. And that equates to a flood insurance discount. Once we receive that leveled rating, we have the opportunity in future years to improve by submitting additional documentation. So we're eagerly looking forward to that conversation later on this afternoon, and continue to thank the residents for working with community development code compliance to come into compliance, and we can demonstrate to FEMA that our policies and procedures are working.
Thank you, Tracy. I believe, and Tracy and Amy can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we're going to add one thing to the M&P on Wednesday, the strategic planning update from Angela Christ. The current agenda just has 2 items on there. We had intended to have that on there as well. Do we have enough time noticing-wise to get it on there?
It'll be a separate meeting. The M&P will have the 2 items, and then there'll be a separate meeting for the strategic planning.
Okay, so
And
what
yes,
I-
we do have enough time.
Thank you. What I would ask is, right now, we have that meeting set for 12:30, but I would ask Mr. Mayor and the council that if we get through the other 2 items in the M&P, we can go ahead and do it a little sooner if, you know, everybody's present. Just, it'll be up to you at that moment in time.
We're thinking we can get through it's 2 short
I think we
presentations
can.
at the M&P.
Yep.
We're hoping by 10 we can be done and start the strategic
We'll
planning
tentatively
soon
schedule it
thereafter.
for 10 or soon thereafter. Okay.
And that won't, sorry, that won't legally have any, we don't have to have a specific time like we do for other meetings?
No, because
Okay.
it's a policy discussion among yourselves.
Okay.
Correct.
Rebecca, do you have a
Okay.
question?
And finally, update on the Old Town Hall property. So over the past several weeks, the community services team, Jeff and his team, have been working on some, moving forward with the procurement process, the RFP, RFQ, all that process to, identify, you know, somebody to knock down those piles and then transition that property into future use for us. And that got through. The purchase order was, Jeff received the purchase order back today and has been talking with the contractor, who looks like they might be able to start on that work, hopefully this week, maybe next week, the latest, start knocking down those piles and then compacting the rest into my current plan is to, as has been discussed, is transition that into a town parking area like we did with the lot next door to here, for the immediate use of that as soon as that is compacted down. So any questions on that, we're happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions? I think that answered a lot of questions.
Where are they going to take the sand?
If there is excess, Jeff,
They're gonna be able to
if
compact off.
if there is excess after they compact it down, contractor seems pretty confident that they can compact that down, most of it that's there, but
Wow.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, so sorry, Jeff Hauge, Community Services Director. Yeah, so the plan is they'll knock it down. There's 2 or 3 different bins there that'll help, and actually that material we can use on future roadway projects too. So that was the intent, was to use that to do some of the other roadway issues. It's a good base. It would be a good base for, let's just say, Newton Park parking lot or something to have it as a base. So we can use that material. We'd have to pay to get it out of here. It is ours. So they're going to flatten it. And then what they're going to do is make sure that we can section it out if we do need it. So we can actually remove some of it as needed in the future. So it won't just be a parking lot in there. We can actually reuse some of that material that's there. So to my knowledge, they're not going to have to remove any right now and take it off. But yeah, they said maybe possibly about 2 feet up the parking lot will be, so it'll be a little bit raised, which is probably actually a little bit good for any kind of tidal flooding that's over there. But yeah, that's the plan. That's the most cost-effective route to take. for the town is to just knock it down, compact it, make a parking lot. I just almost assume it would be kind of like when we put the trailers down on, at Bay Oaks, we made that big pad. I think it's gonna be somewhat like that, you know, with, obviously with sloped driveways. We do have two catch basins. As far as drainage goes, it's actually on the Chapel by the Seaside. There's two of them that are there. They're clear. We've cleaned them out. So we'll slope it that way as far as drainage goes. So it won't go in onto I think Tropical Shores. So we'll make sure the drainage is going into those catch basins for that too.
Very good. Any other questions for Jeff?
No, thanks. That's great.
All right.
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Town attorney items.
No items.
All right. Council members, items and reports. John?
Will somebody be addressing the concern that Ms. Puffer raised about the fuel tanks on the Wyndham property, or?
Yes, I know that a couple of my staff members have been, I've talked with them about going out and taking a look, doing a site visit, checking that scene, and we'll get an answer back to Ms. Puffer.
Thank you. I may have to leave early from the MEP on Wednesday, as I'll be driving to Orlando for the Florida League of Cities Legislative Conference, so I may have to leave around 1 or so.
Very good.
And that's it for me.
Jim?
I didn't have anything, but John tweaked an interest in this Wyndham property, maybe Frankie or anyone. Do we have any idea what the status is of their application to do what they want to do in the interim on the Wyndham property? Is it pending out there? Is it in discussion? Just a general status update?
I'd have to ask Frankie or one of the Jasons to come up and address that. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Jason Green, Jason Smalley's checking, but I believe that application is in and under review for sufficiency.
And Jason said, Jason Smalley, and I want to put you on the spot, but if you could just give listeners just a thumbnail sketch of what we're talking about at this point in time with respect to their proposal, a general 30-second overview, because there's a lot of conversation about what that might look like. There was a lot of original thoughts posited, and then it seems like it's evolving. Can you just give us a general overview of where we're at today as to what they're hoping to accomplish in the interim? And this, as I think, is still an interim solution.
Good morning, Jason Smalley, Planning and Zoning Department. So I'm bringing up the most recent submission. Originally, the plan was presented to us as a open-air tiki hut, and then they would have parking areas. It was intended to be low intensity until they did the entire redevelopment of the site. But I'm going to bring up the development agreement package that was just submitted. That was submitted on the, looks like the 4th, and it is still under review. And let's see here.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but there's a lot of interest on the south end on what might be coming. You want to come back to us, Mr. Mayor, or unless you've got it, Jason?
So let me bring up the most recent submittal that we have, and if we could circle back to this before we're done.
That'd be fine. Thank you. That's all I've got.
We'll come back. Okay. Rebecca?
No comments.
Scott?
Just a reminder that we have our next Charter Review Committee meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Looking forward to that. And then Saturday is our, I don't know how many years, but our annual boat parade. And this year, we're going to take 2 laps around the Back Bay. So looking forward to that. Heard Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus are going to be there, so get ready.
Very good.
Get down there early because it's a great event.
Always fun. The only thing I had was going back to the town hall property. We don't have to go into discussion about it today, but if we can add it, or get consensus to add it to a future M&P. You know, we talk a lot about a certain property owner that has all of the retail space that's pretty much available on the island, and we're always looking at ways to increase the use of that town hall, the former town hall property. I'd like to put on the M&P to have a discussion about potentially giving staff direction to move forward to exploring possible private-public partnerships for retail space using the town hall property. And maybe there's a opportunity to purchase the adjacent property to add to it. But, you know, if someone's not willing to help us out, we have the ability to maybe take it into our own hands and see if there's a path for us to provide some sort of retail space for the things that we want to see come back to the island. So I just want to see if there's consensus to add that to a future M&P.
I would not only consent to that, I think that's a great idea, given the challenges with the other two retail establishments, or plazas, if you will, that are struggling for reasons that are beyond human comprehension. But nonetheless, they are. So to your point, Mr. Mayor, I do like the idea of also seeing if there's a synergy with the Chapel by the Sea property, which I believe is still for sale.
I believe so.
And so if there's a way to entice someone to come in and utilize our property as well as that Chapel by the Sea property to create some kind of, not just retail shops, I think you were talking about, I think you're inferring, and I think rightfully so, that it would be a place for a dentist office or a doctor's office or a physical therapist, or there's just a desperate need for retail slash sort of office health services, and it's getting to the point where it's really it's a critical piece of our quality of life puzzle here on the island. And obviously, fortunately, the good news is Santini Plaza is full. The bad news is Santini Plaza is full. So there's just no more space, and until and maybe, I guess, I guess Nancy didn't want to, or didn't have any plans to discuss it today, but the legal challenges that we're having with these two plazas, not only are they legal challenges and they're parking challenges, but it's a huge issue in terms of having that retail space sit vacant and, for the most part, and it's causing, I mean, there's some real public policy concerns that's causing for our island in terms of potential rebirth of our island, and that's why I keep pushing to, and I know that the actor involved is not always cooperative / reasonable, but if there's any way there's a settlement possible legally where we could facilitate some development of that property to solve some of the challenges the mayor referenced, I think it's really all hands on deck at this point, because that's a future quality of life issue for this island that really is impactful. And well, enough said.
All right, I think we only need two, but I think, you okay with it, John?
I'm fine with it.
All right, that's all I had. Back to you.
Thank you for the opportunity to go back and look at the submission. So, based on the current submission, the proposal is to do the tiki hut, the uses that they're proposing in the interim use would be for paid parking, restaurant use, and I'm sorry? And consumption on premises. So they're proposing 260 spots, 58 of which are dedicated to the restaurant use. So they would be looking for immediately paid parking on the site. They would be proposing mobile trailers for their restaurant use and their live entertainment. And then the actual service ostensibly would be done underneath the proposed tiki hut, which I believe is proposed at about 7,200 square feet. And then behind that would be a proposed COP area, which is just a guess about double that space of the tiki hut. It's a relatively large COP area, all seaward of the 1978 CCCL based on their layout here.
That's very helpful, Jason. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You said seaward of the CC?
I'm sorry, landward of the triple
Okay.
CL line, so that it would not implicate the EC problems.
Right.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Is there anything else?
Move to adjourn.
That's it? All right. We got a motion to adjourn.
Christening comment.
Any objection? See, then we are adjourned at 11:15.